You ever get that feeling when something's just off? That's how it started for me. My name's Ryan Walker, and what I'm about to tell you still doesn't feel real, even though I lived it. That night, I pulled my car into the garage like I had 1,000 times before. The engine purred like a well-fed animal as I shut it off, and the silence that followed was almost too still. It was late, so late it felt like the day had folded in on itself, and I was bone-tired after another long stretch at the law firm. But no matter how many hours I logged, I used to look forward to coming home. Home meant peace, comfort. It meant her. But something felt different that night. I stepped inside, loosened my tie, and just stood there for a second, taking it all in. The chandelier cast a soft light over the marble floor, shadows dancing across the walls. Everything was clean, perfect, too perfect. Nothing out of place, like the house hadn't seen a soul for hours. But I knew someone was home. I turned the corner into the living room and saw her. Jenna. My wife. 10 years married. She was curled up on the couch in this silky robe that clung to her like it was made for temptation. Her blonde hair fell over one shoulder in that effortless way that used to stop me in my tracks. She was scrolling on her phone, eyes glued to the screen, completely ignoring me. I smiled, or tried to. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. She looked up for half a heartbeat, gave me this lukewarm, "hey," then went right back to whatever was so fascinating on her phone. That was when it started. That flicker of something wrong. I stood there, watching her. I've always known Jenna loved attention. She thrived in it. The compliments, the smiles at dinner parties, the way people's eyes followed her when we walked into a room. She was magnetic. But that night, she was guarded. Like she was hiding something. And then I saw it. A quick flick of her thumb, too fast to be innocent. She locked her phone the moment she realized I was watching. It was small. Something most people wouldn't even catch. But I did. And my heart skipped a beat. "Rough day?" she asked, still avoiding eye contact, voice painted with false concern. "Yeah," I said automatically, eyes narrowing. "What about you?" She stretched like a cat, letting out a soft sigh. "Same old," she mumbled. The silk shifted over her skin as she moved, revealing the curve of her collarbone. A few years ago, that might have made me lean in and kiss her, start something. But tonight, all I could see was her thumb. That flick. That lie. I walked to the bar and poured myself a whiskey. The ice cracked as I dropped it in the glass, the sound sharp in the still room. I swirled it absent-mindedly, my mind racing. I wasn't the jealous type. I dealt in evidence, in facts. But instincts, those I'd learned to trust. Years in the courtroom had sharpened my senses. I took a slow sip, then asked, as casually as I could, "What's so interesting on your phone?" She tensed, barely, but I saw it. Then she forced this light, fake laugh. "Just gossip, nothing you'd care about." Lies. Slick and polished, but lies all the same. Then it happened. Her phone buzzed. A message. She didn't even glance at it. Didn't react. Just calmly reached over and flipped it face down like it was nothing. Like I hadn't seen the whole act. Another sip of whiskey burned its way down my throat. My gut told me something was wrong. But I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. So I leaned over and kissed her temple, letting my lips linger just long enough to feel her flinch. That tiny twitch gave her away. "Get some sleep," I murmured, then turned and walked away. She was watching me as I left. I didn't have to turn around to know it. She was wondering if I'd picked up on the signs. I had. And I wasn't about to let it go. That night, the house was too quiet. Jenna's breathing beside me should have been comforting, a rhythm I'd fallen asleep to for years. But now, it felt like noise. Static. I stared up at the ceiling, my brain spinning. Her thumb, her tone, the way she avoided eye contact, and that message. Everything about her felt off. I've cross-examined hundreds of liars in my life. I've seen fake tears, practiced innocence, remorse worn like a cheap suit. But the truth lives in the body. The hesitation. The stiffness. The silence when there should be noise. Jenna had hesitated. I turned to look at her. She looked like an angel in the moonlight, so serene it almost hurt to see. But I knew better now. Looks lie. Peace can be a mask. My eyes drifted to the nightstand. Her phone lay face down, still and quiet. A vault of secrets. I took a deep breath and slid out of bed without a sound. I'd moved like this before. In court, in investigations. Not at home. Never at home. But tonight, I needed answers. I reached for her phone. Locked. Of course. No surprise there. But I had another idea. Jenna hated texting long messages on her phone. She always used her laptop for that. I crossed the room carefully, avoiding the floorboards I knew would creak. Her laptop was on the vanity, silver and spotless. I opened it. Password. Easy. I knew it. I typed it in, and the soft chime as it unlocked hit me like a starting gun. This was it. I was crossing a line. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found next. I opened her email. And then I stopped breathing. There it was. A message to Brooke Mitchell, her best friend, the one she shared everything with. The subject line read, "You won't believe what I did." I clicked it open. And it wrecked me. "I did all 10, she'd written. Every single one. You should have seen me, I was unreal. He told me I'd never actually go through with them, but guess what? I did. And I loved every second. You were right. He's clueless. Absolutely no idea. Honestly, it makes it more fun thinking about his face if he ever finds out." Then came the list. I read it. Every item. Burned each one into my brain. Do it in his car. Laugh about him during. Bring him into our house. Record it and send it to you. Talk about how easy it is to fool him. Wear the jewelry he gave me while doing it. Introduce him as my real boyfriend. Leave the guy's stuff at the house and see if Ryan notices. Drop hints right in front of him and enjoy watching him miss it. Tell him he's the best I've ever had. My hand tightened into a fist as I stared at the screen. This wasn't just infidelity. This was cruelty. A twisted little game she made out of our marriage. A humiliation she planned step by step. She didn't just betray me, she enjoyed it. She laughed about it. And worst of all, she wanted me to be blind. She wanted me to miss the signs. That flick of the thumb? That wasn't carelessness. It was part of the game. I let out a breath, pressing my palm into the desk just to stay grounded. My body was burning, but my head was freezing cold. That's when I knew I couldn't react like a broken husband. I couldn't yell. I couldn't throw accusations. I had to be smarter than her. I gently closed the laptop, my own face reflected in the black screen. I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. She'd played her hand. Now it was my turn. I went to my office and sat in the glow of my desk lamp, staring at the darkness on the laptop screen. I didn't need to see those words again. They were carved into my memory, line by sickening line. She'd treated our life like it was some reality show challenge, and I was the oblivious husband character in her little script. She thought I was naive, passive, that I wouldn't fight back. She was dead wrong. Some guys would lose it, flip a table, demand answers. But I knew better. I'd seen what rage got people. Emotion was a liability. Control. That's where the real power lives. I grabbed a notebook and opened it to a clean page. At the top, in my usual steady handwriting, I wrote, Phase 1. Isolation. I needed proof. Not guesses, not gut feelings. Real, concrete evidence. I couldn't confront her on a hunch. I had to be the one holding all the cards when the time came. I opened my laptop again. Not for email. For contacts. Over the years, I'd worked with people who operated in the less official corners of my profession. Private investigators. Cyber forensics experts. People who knew how to find things that weren't meant to be found. A few encrypted messages later, I had everything I needed. Hidden cameras. Discreet. High resolution. Audio, too. Small enough to be invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. I ordered enough to cover all the places that mattered. The bedroom, living room, office, even her car. I'd see it all. Once they were set up, it'd only be a matter of time. But I didn't stop there. I wasn't just collecting proof. I was setting the stage to destroy her from the inside out. I didn't want to confront her. Not yet. That would have been too simple, too obvious. Jenna needed to start wondering, start doubting her own control over the game she thought she was winning. So I planted the first seed. The next morning, she was sitting at the kitchen island, sipping her coffee like nothing was wrong. I walked over and grabbed my own mug, flashing her a casual smile. "You were up pretty late last night," I said as I poured. She blinked at me, almost too slowly. "Was I?" "Yeah," I replied, stirring the coffee like I didn't care. "Woke up around 2. Thought I heard something." It was nothing, really. A harmless little comment. No accusation. Just a nudge. A quiet suggestion. But she paused. Just for a moment, but I caught it. Her laugh came a little too fast, a little too forced. "Oh, I was probably just tossing and turning. You know how I am." I nodded, hiding the satisfaction behind my coffee cup. She didn't know if I'd seen something. Perfect. That was the point. Jenna loved attention, craved it. She lived for praise, for admiration, for the curated little world she showed off to our social circle. The perfect couple. The beautiful house. The loving husband who'd do anything for her. So I started pulling away. I skipped events we'd normally attend together. Dinners. Get-togethers. Fundraisers. I said I was busy with work. And she noticed. "You're not going to the charity gala next week?" she asked one night, trying to sound neutral. "Can't," I said, setting down my briefcase. "Work's insane. I'm slammed." Her lips tightened. "You've never missed it before." I just shrugged. Things change. That hit her. I saw it. The way she shifted in her seat, suddenly unsure. That was what I needed. Let her feel the ground start to move under her. Let her wonder if the walls she built were as sturdy as she thought. The last step of Phase 1 was all about control. I needed her off balance, second-guessing everything. I had to be the one holding the reins when it all came crashing down. A few nights later, we were on the couch. She was scrolling through her phone, pretending not to be thinking too hard. I looked at her and asked, almost absently, "You ever wonder what people would do if they found out everything about you?" Her fingers froze over the screen. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice light, but something in her body stiffened. I smiled. Just a thought. Then I turned back to the TV like it didn't mean anything. But I felt it, the way she sat straighter, the way she subtly tilted her phone to check for something. She was spiraling. Not visibly, not yet. But inside, she was wondering if I knew. If I'd seen anything. She was right to wonder. The cameras were already in place. The surveillance had started days ago. I had hours of footage already downloading onto secure drives. The bedroom. The hallway. The living room. Even her car. And I'd seen it all. Jenna wasn't slick. Not really. She smiled at her phone like it was a secret she couldn't wait to unwrap. She stared at the front door a little too long, like she was expecting someone. She moved lighter now, careful. Almost giddy. Her double life had lit something up in her, something reckless and stupid. It made me sick. But I didn't let myself get angry. Anger is messy. Anger gets you caught. What I needed was precision. Patience. A clean strike when the moment came. And that moment, it was getting close. The charity gala was a big deal, one of the biggest events of the year. Champagne, gowns, tuxedos, fake smiles. Jenna loved it. She'd always been the center of attention there, the belle of the ball with her doting husband by her side. But this year, she'd be going alone. I watched from my office as she got ready in the bedroom, slipping into a sleek black dress that hugged every curve like it was stitched from confidence. She looked stunning, dangerous. She stared at herself in the mirror, adjusting the neckline, making sure everything was perfect. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She picked it up and smiled, one of those private, indulgent smiles. Then she typed a quick message and set the phone back down, her eyes glowing like a kid before Christmas. I already knew who it was. Derek Coleman. The man she was so proud of sneaking around with. The man she brought into our house, our life, our bed. But that's the thing about confidence built on lies. It can't survive the truth. She thought she was untouchable. But I'd already pulled the strings. She didn't know it yet, but by the time she stepped into that ballroom, her world had already started collapsing. The gala was a big deal, massive, really. Chandeliers, string quartets, flutes of champagne. All the city's wealthiest pretending they weren't all gossiping behind each other's backs. Jenna lived for that stuff. She'd spent years perfecting the image she wore to events like that. But that night, I made sure she walked in alone. And I made sure she didn't stay invisible for long. I had people, friends. Quiet whispers had already started by the time she arrived. Little looks, raised eyebrows. Someone nudged someone else and nodded toward her. Jenna didn't notice at first. She was too busy scanning the crowd, probably looking for Derek, probably excited for whatever twisted thrill they had planned after the champagne. She walked like a woman in control. But then it shifted. Someone looked at her phone. Looked at Jenna. Laughed behind a glass. Another turned and whispered. Jenna's steps faltered. She clutched her purse tighter. She could feel it. Something had changed. That perfect little world of admiration and envy she loved bathing in? It had gone cold. Then she saw Brooke. Brooke Mitchell, her best friend. The one she'd sent the list to. The one she trusted. But Brooke wasn't smiling. She was staring. And then, just a slight shake of her head. That was all it took. Jenna's stomach probably dropped to the floor. And then her phone buzzed. She looked down. A number she didn't recognize. The message said, "Enjoy the night. I hear everyone's talking about you." She spun around, looking for me. But I wasn't there. Of course not. She didn't even notice Derek approaching until he was right beside her. "Something's wrong," he said under his breath. "No," she whispered. I don't know what's happening." Then her phone buzzed again. She clicked the message. It was a video. And that was the end of it. There she was, on screen, laughing, tangled in bed with Derek, mocking me, trashing our marriage like it was some inside joke. Her voice was loud and clear. "He has no idea. Absolutely clueless. Can you imagine his face if he ever found out?" Her laugh. His voice. "You don't belong with a man like that." The video cut off. Her whole body locked up. She turned to Derek in pure horror. He knows. But he wasn't looking at her anymore. He was scanning the room. Because at that very moment, the massive projection screen, where they usually displayed sponsors and donors, lit up. And that video, that same one, it started playing. Louder. Bigger. In front of everyone. The crowd went dead silent. Then gasps. A glass shattered. Music stopped mid-note. And there she was, naked, laughing, talking about me like I was trash. No one said a word. No one needed to. Jenna turned in slow, disbelieving panic, scanning the crowd for any kind of out. Her perfect little life had just detonated. Then her phone buzzed one more time. Checkmate. She dropped it. It hit the marble floor with a loud crack. She stumbled out of the ballroom, heels clacking on the stone like gunshots. The laughter, the gasps, the whispers, she couldn't outrun them. They followed her out into the night. I watched from my office. Focused. I didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. She had made a show of humiliating me. All I did was return the favor. Outside, Jenna was a mess. Shaking hands. Tear-streaked makeup. She tried calling me. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Nothing. Then a car pulled up beside her. Derek. The man who once made her feel powerful looked like he'd just realized he was in a sinking boat. "Get in," he said flatly. She hesitated. For the first time, she wasn't sure he was the safe option anymore. But she got in anyway. What she didn't realize, what neither of them knew, was that this was only the beginning. Then Jenna finally asked, "Did you know?" He turned his head slowly, voice sharp and cold. "You really think I'd let that happen to me?" She winced. "You got sloppy," he added. "Not my fault this blew up." That's what it was to him. Not betrayal. Not shame. Just sloppiness. An inconvenience. She pressed her hands to her temples like she could squeeze out a plan. "We can fix this," she muttered, mostly to herself. "I'll say it's fake, staged. Michael can't prove." Derek let out a bitter laugh that sliced right through her fantasy. "You think he just threw this together? He's been watching. Waiting. This was a setup." She didn't respond. Couldn't. Because she knew he was right. She had underestimated me. And now she was paying the price. When the car pulled up to our house, what used to be her house, she jumped out before it fully stopped. She turned to Derek. "You're not coming in." He tapped his fingers on his knee, eyes locked on the dash. "I think we need some space." Her voice cracked. Space. The same man who encouraged her, who laughed about me, who made her feel like she was doing something bold and thrilling, now he was bailing. Vanishing. The door shut behind her, and the car disappeared down the street, leaving her alone on the front steps. She rushed to the door and shoved her key into the lock. It didn't fit. She tried again. Harder. Jigging it. Still locked. Panic punched through her chest like ice water. She stepped back, staring at the door like it had betrayed her. Then her phone buzzed. A new message. From me. "You don't live here anymore." She gasped. A soundless, stunned kind of breath. Pressed her hand to the door like she could will it to open. Nothing. She dialed my number. Voicemail. She called again. Same thing. Then she started pounding on the door. "Ryan!" she screamed. "Please. Ryan." Silence. The house was dark. She knew I was in there. I just wasn't answering. She backed away slowly. Rage and confusion twisting together in her face. She turned and walked toward her car, probably thinking she could crash in a hotel, regroup in the morning, make me talk. But when she got into the driver's seat and opened her banking app, just to feel like she had something left, she froze. Her accounts. Empty. Checking. $0. Savings. $0. She refreshed the screen like maybe it was a glitch. Nothing changed. She laughed. One of those broken, hollow laughs. Then she clicked through the history. Small withdrawals. Months of them. Tiny amounts at first. Then more. Until it was all gone. She realized I'd been planning this for a long, long time. Every move she made, I had been 2 steps ahead. No home. No money. No Derek. Nothing. Then her phone buzzed again. "Actions have consequences, Jenna. I hope your little game was worth it. Because now it's over." She dropped the phone onto the passenger seat, stared at nothing. Everything she built, gone in a flash. But this wasn't just about revenge. This was about showing her exactly who she married. Not the fool she thought I was. The man who dismantled her life without ever raising his voice. She tried calling Derek again. 1 ring. Phew. Voicemail. Of course. Now that the spotlight wasn't on her terms, now that it burned instead of sparkled, he was gone. She let out a shaky breath, trying to think. She had no home, no money, no man. Hotels were out of the question. Credit cards. Declined. Friends. Most of them had probably seen the video, watched her fall in real time, maybe even laughed. Then it hit her. Brooke. Her last shot. She sped off into the night, tires screeching as if panic alone could move the car faster. It was a long drive, made longer by every red light stretching out like punishment. When she pulled up to Brooke's apartment, her palms were sweaty on the steering wheel. Her breath came in short, uneven bursts as she climbed the stairs. She knocked. Long pause. Then the door cracked open, just an inch, the chain lock still in place. Brooke's face appeared. Stone cold. Jenna forced her voice to sound normal. "Brooke. I need to talk." No warmth. No welcome. Just one simple sentence from Brooke. "You need help." Jenna's heart lifted just a bit. She nodded quickly. "Yes, I do. Please. Can I?" "I didn't mean from me," Brooke said flatly. And then the door closed. Just like that. The lock slid back into place. Jenna stared at the door like it had slapped her. The woman who had once laughed with her, helped her plan her schemes, encouraged her to take the risk, had just turned her back without blinking. Her breath caught in her throat. She pressed her forehead to the wood for a moment, then turned and walked slowly back to the street. All her life, she believed she was untouchable. Now she realized she had nowhere left to land. She got back in her car, numb. Every movement felt heavier than the last. Her thoughts spun like vultures, circling her own collapse. She'd thought she was in control. She wasn't. She hesitated, then opened my contact one last time. She hit call. And this time, I answered. She sucked in a breath like the sound of my voice was the first piece of oxygen she'd had in hours. "Ryan," she whispered. "Please. We need to talk." I let a pause stretch. Then I spoke, calm and clear. "There's nothing to talk about." "Please," she begged. "I know I messed up. I know I did. But you can't just erase me. Not like this. We were." I laughed. "Not out of cruelty. Out of disbelief. You still don't get it." Silence. "I didn't erase you, Jenna. You did that all by yourself." Her breath hitched. "You thought it was a game," I continued. "You thought I was too blind to see, too weak to fight back. And now that the game's over, now you want me to pull you out of the fire you lit." Her voice cracked. "I never wanted this." "No," I said. "You wanted to see how far you could push me. You wanted to see if I'd notice. If I'd care. If I'd fight for you." I paused. "Well, here's your answer." Nothing but silence stretched between us. Then I ended the call. She stared at the phone in her hand, her reflection dimmed by the black screen. For the first time in her life, there was no one to call, no one to manipulate, no safety net waiting to catch her. She sat there for a long time, the weight of it all finally settling on her shoulders like wet cement. Once, she thought power meant control. Secrets. Manipulation. Getting what you want without consequences. But now she understood what real power was. Consequences. And I delivered hers with absolute precision. No shouting. No threats. No violence. Just quiet, surgical destruction. And as she sat alone in that car, staring at the dark, empty streets, she realized something terrifying. This wasn't rock bottom. This was just the beginning of her fall. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.